Yes, my peoples, it's T, and today I am back for another Apprentice reaction, prediction, review. Yes, week 7. Let's get it. Come on. All right, so week 7, Budapest. So this week they are in Hungary, as I predicted last week. If you remember what I said, I was like, look, they're in Budapest next week. But anyway, so apparently it was the 150th anniversary of Budapest. So it's a country or city that's not that old, to be fair, and it is or has been voted Europe's most popular city breaks, or one of Europe's most popular city breaks. To be fair, as somebody who likes to travel, that's one of the locations I actually haven't been to. It hasn't really, I haven't, had the idea or any interest in going there, but it'll be on my list at some point, hopefully, maybe. But yeah, so this week they had a challenge to set up and run a bespoke tour around the city. Now, remember, this task obviously happens every single series, and I do enjoy seeing how they develop their bespoke tour. So let's see how it goes. And of course, this is a profit task as usual, as with any business, to be fair. So and then the caveat with this is the guests can ask for a refund as well. So again, they have to make sure they actually perform and do well and satisfy the customers too. So this week, something happened that I said last week should happen this week. Let's play the clip just so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's play that clip so you can see what I'm talking about.
So Maura, Flo and Paul, please move over to Nexus.
And Rachel, Felicia and Trey, please move over to Supreme.
So they have mixed up the teams, which in my opinion it's an interesting mix. It's an interesting mix. The good people now have a bunch of poor people in their team. So Verdi and Phil have stayed in Team Supremely Poor. Team Supreme. And everyone else is different in Team Supreme now. So that's one thing, which, to be fair, that in itself could make a huge difference. However, Phil and Paul are so poor. It's very possible that they could hold that team back regardless. They also have Felicia in that team as well. And if I'm being honest, I'm not fully convinced on her either. She's done some good things, but there's certain things I've seen from her which has not been great. So that team has 2 really poor people and 1 questionable person, and the other people question marks. And then Maura, obviously, she is she's on the other team. Obviously, she's the only person on the other team I think that is definitely poor. So one team has 1 poor person, the other team has 2.5 poor people. So straight off the bat, Team Supreme probably should lose again. Just my prediction, they'll probably lose again. And that's what I said last week. I said unless they mix the teams up very well, Team Supreme will lose every single week, because whilst Phil and Verdi still there. So let's see if I'm right in my prediction from last week. But yeah, so let's see. Because Verdi, Phil consistently poor. But who knows? They may have a lucky week. Now the next challenge, as usual, is to pick the PM. So let's watch a little clip as well that shows us about PMs.
Good communicator, strong negotiator, and I've got a really clear mindset about where I place you all.
I would also like to put myself forward as project manager. Events is something I do. I DJ around the whole world. I do meet with different people and different cultures all the time.
I can retain information really well, and I do work with people every day outside of here, and I have had 6 out of 6 wins.
Ha! Savage. Savage.
Straight away making Felicia.
So, long story short, they made, Verdi and is it Rachel were vying for the PM spot in Team Supreme. Listen, the shade that was thrown by Rachel around, listen, I've won every single task that you haven't. Love that. But in the end, they did choose Rachel after the vote, which is no surprise there. I think they're very lucky they didn't choose Verdi. Otherwise, it would be curtains instantly. Instant curtains if they chose Verdi. That's my opinion anyway. However, The Ever team chose Mora as their well, I say chose. Mora got selected by Lord Alan Sugar in the previous week to be the PM, and that in itself is also potentially curtains. I have absolutely, and I said this many times before in the previous weeks, I have absolutely zero confidence in Mora. Every time I see her speak, it makes me kind of like itch. So based off the PMs alone, Rachel's team should win, that which will give Team Supreme my first win. But Verdi and Phil, I think they're gonna hold them back. And like I said earlier, Felucia hasn't convinced me at all. So technically, with only Mora being very poor on the Ever team, I feel like Team Supreme, will continue their losing streak yet again. But Mora could do well to hold the Ever team back. So we'll see. But yeah, let's watch another clip.
Straight away making Felicia as sub-team leader to watch the guys. All I'm saying is redemption time for me and Bill, and we're going to show that in this task.
Everyone happy, everyone know what they're doing.
Okay, so long story short, that was actually quite funny. So as you heard there, Felucia got made the sub-team leader for Team Supreme, and Birdie had a bit of an issue there with that to watch the boys apparently. So, to be fair, I would do the same because everyone knows Birdie and Phil are poor. To have Birdie Phil on the same sub-team and Felucia, them three alone on one team, poof, it's, honestly, it's not looking good. So Rachel chose the boat tour for her tour, and Mora chose the wine tour. Interesting. I'll say a little more on that later in terms of the differences between the different tours, and what I think, in terms of choosing alcohol or an actual activity. But essentially, they both had 16 tickets to sell. Rachel wanted to start at 110, I believe, and myself for a minimum of £90, which is fair range. And then Flo suggested to start at 160. Mora said she wants to sell tickets at 160, nothing else. She gave no other guidance or range. She was like, sell them at 160 and that's it. That was her her ask. But in relation to back to Team Supreme, Felucia, sub-team leader. Is it maybe redemption time for Verdi and Phil? Can they redeem themselves? Can they perform well with Felucia and actually bring Team Supreme to their first victory, despite everybody changing in the team except for her? And then the one thing I do want to do, I do think Verdi with his cringe self would have been quite good on the tour team as opposed to the ticket selling team, because he's quite, it's quite cringe, and people tend to like cringe. Certain people like to just like cringe. They just like cringe and silly things, and they will enjoy that. Personally, I wouldn't, but yeah. And then on the other team, Mora chose Flo as sub-team leader. I think that was a stroke of genius there from Mora, but just because Flo has typically been quite good, and I think she's good at leading, in my opinion. Nor, however, got moved to Team Supreme due to her faith and not being comfortable with alcohol. And you know what? I respect it. I respect that. I haven't seen that in previous years, to be fair. There have been alcohol tests in previous years, but I haven't seen anybody actually say, nope, I'm not comfortable with this. Drop me out. So I respect that, and happy Ramadan to everybody who's currently participating too in that. So honestly, Noor may have saved herself an L with that move. Noor may have saved herself an L with that move, or maybe not. Time will tell. Let's watch this clip though, because this clip with Noor cracked me up.
Your top student right here. I don't know about you guys.
I can't wait to quiz you on it in the morning.
I've got you.
What
guys.
city are we in right now?
We're in Hungary.
Hungary.
City on here.
City. It starts with a B. But,
God help us.
You
God
know,
help
we do the
us.
tour on Budapest.
oh yeah, Budapest. I knew that.
That's hilarious. Girls like Hungary. Starts with B. Anyway, moving on. So Rachel wanted £35 max per person in their negotiations for the client. So the business initially started at £60, and then she got a great deal at £22 ahead, or 22 euros ahead, which was really good. To be fair, I think she done really well there. But to me, it seemed like a very easy negotiation. The business lady wasn't really pushing back or anything. She was like, yeah. She started at 60, and she's like, and then she's like, yeah, I'll take 20, yeah, whatever. So I think a bit of a luck of the draw there with Rachel, but maybe that was just editing, who knows. And honestly, with that negotiation and that price that they set, very good price, it all comes down to Verdi and Phil and Felucia, and how they do on that team. That's all. This team really right now seems to be in the lead. It all comes down to how they perform on the sub team, in my opinion. But moving on to the sub team of the other team, or maybe not sub team. Sorry, Paul, the dentist. He ran negotiations. Surprisingly, Flo didn't run negotiations. She's normally quite good at that. But essentially, they got it for €26 in the end. They started at €80, which I think. Again, second time in the series, but very disrespectful to go in that low. But they did get €26 in the end, which is actually not much higher than the other team, which is actually a decent deal. But every lot helps in this task, so still not 100% amazing. And yeah, Raj and Maura were together with the selling element, and you know what? Raj could end up saving Maura here because Raj is quite normally good with selling, and she's good at talking to people on the street. But Maura is not a great help or a great PM, in my opinion. So far, she's been really shocking. So let's see what happens. And then moving on to the negotiations. The selling team for Verdi, Felucia, and Phil. What was Phil? So Phil got a sale. Well done. Phil got one sale. But why is he talking about refunds to the customer, like straight away off the bat? In my opinion, that isn't a good idea. But well done to him for getting that sale. And look at this clip. Watch this clip. This clip from Flo, hilarious.
Activities, and if you wish, you can take a sip. Focused on facts.
That's hilarious. Oh, listen, that's hilarious. The way how she just. Anyway, the less said about that, the better. But that splat on her face and the way she moved and laughed was hilarious. But yeah, anyway, Flo was good, man. Flo was good. She was asking all the right questions about everything. And honestly, this sub team could make the difference for this team because Maura and Raj haven't been great so far with the sales as well. And then Raj lying about the Michelin star element, like what? Like that's a refund pending right there. I don't know what she's thinking there about lying to the customers. And then moved on to the other team Supremely Poor. Felucia messed up entirely with staying in the same location for like 3-4 hours. Yeah, it's got some footfall there, but you're not selling anything. Move on. The people in the area clearly don't care about this. Move on. It's poor leadership there by her, and it looks like they're not going to sell anything. But eventually, for the last like hour, they moved to somewhere else that had higher footfall, had more people interested, and they sold everything. So they sold 15 out of 16. But they started selling it for peanuts, literally peanuts, low prices, and this is a profit task. So yeah, not good from the entire team there. Verdi, Phil, terrible, but Felucia, their poor decision to stay. That could be a big issue there. And then let's watch. Actually, I'm not sure what this clip is about, but let's in fact, before I even get to that, Maura wanted to switch teams last minute. Now, this could definitely derail the entire sub team. Like right now, her team is in the lead for me because of her negotiation skills and in the lead not because of her as a PM. They're in the lead because of the people around her, and she could be undoing it all by moving and switching teams, especially taking Flo of all people, the main person, the leader of that team, away from that team. So very poor decision there, I think, by Maura. But yeah, she's a calamity. honestly, she reminds me. I said this before, but she reminds me of somebody I used to work with. It's just like almost exactly the same. It's just complete mess. Like, anyway, and watch this clip as well. This clip is cringe. Watch this.
Danube River,
Okay, guys, are we all ready to get going?
while Rachel's team get the party started.
What is this?
Buddha, hey! Buddha, 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 hey!
What is that? Buddha. I'm not gonna repeat that. That's a mess. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, certain people tend to like these cringe elements anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if they really loved it. Get into the awkwardness and the just the out of sync dancing and stiff dancing. I wouldn't be surprised if they loved that. But anyway, honestly, Mora is so jarring. So every single week she annoys me. Like, this is not yoga. It's a wine tour. Tell me, why is she just trying to be like, feel the earth beneath your feet. Breathe in, breathe out. They ain't book a wellness retreat. They come to drink some wine and get tipsy. Like, fair enough, it could work, but I feel like unless she livens it up a little bit, refunds galore coming up. And then to make it worse, she started waffling and lying about all of the facts. Like, come on. Like, this is why you should not have moved Flo away from this team. But yeah, let's see what happens. And the Rachel's team, as I mentioned before, they was having a ball. They was dancing, they was singing, they was being engaging with everybody, was smiling. It seemed good. And then moving on back to the other team, Raj and Flo. I don't have any clips for this, but listen, Raj and Flo was definitely tipsy. Like, I've never seen Flo so animated and so talkative. Like, Flo and Raj were tipsy. They was on one with all that wine tasting afterwards. They was on one. But yeah, going back to the other team, Trey, overall on tours, he's very good with people. So I think he done very well. And yeah, Mora, too awkward. It's actually painful to watch her sometimes. Honestly, refunds all around, unless the end of it becomes amazing. They all look very upset, so I think refunds may come there. But however, I'm now starting to feel like I'm gonna go back on my original prediction that Mora as PM would cause the team to lose, because yes, she's been awful and she's trying to derail and undo everything in the team. I think so far the other team, based on what I'm seeing so far, the other team have just made some poor decisions, and the sub team of Team Supreme has been awful. Actually, the main team has been fine. They're doing what they need to do, to be fair. But the sub team has been poor. But I'm actually torn. But yeah, I'm actually torn. But in general, I think both teams were poor. I'm so intrigued to see the actual result at the end. And technically, the alcohol team should win. And this is what I'll come back to later. The alcohol team should win because it's alcohol is more expensive. And people love alcohol. So if they do any upselling at the end, they should make more money based off just the upselling alone, because alcohol is more expensive and people tend to just love alcohol. But Mora has tried her hardest to sabotage her team. So I'm still very, very torn right now. However, the other team haven't sold very well at all. So if they somehow pull this off, it's down to Mora's. If they somehow pull it off, down to Mora's poor decision and Rachel's good decision. So, I'm right now. I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but let's watch a clip and see what the results are saying.
Start off for you, Tim. Can you let me know what the total team spend was?
Yeah, the total spend for the team was €352.
Right.
Low spend.
And how much did they
Very
make
good.
from ticket sales?
Thanks to Rachel.
Strudel sales.
They took €1,012.50.
Any refunds?
Well, the guests loved the tour. They built up a great rapport with the actual individuals, and there was no refunds, giving them a total profit of
Smashed it.
€660.
No refunds.
And 50 cents.
But I don't think
Question
they sold enough.
well,
I don't think they sold enough. So great result in terms of no refunds. The team loved the tour, but I feel like the lower end of this. Let's watch the next clip and see what the result is.
a lot more, 400.
Okay, so this team spent more, as we know.
And when it came to ticket sales and wine sales, they made a lot more.
They did sell more.
1,586
Yeah,
euros.
I told you, alcohol sells.
Any refunds there?
Well, they loved the masterclass. Really,
Yeah,
really loved that.
pause. I'm pausing this. I'm pausing this.
And therefore
This
no
is
refunds.
this is
So
no refunds.
They gave an overall profit.
This is the profit first.
1,170 euros.
Honestly,
You won by 500.
honestly, that's quite a big margin to win by. I personally think they're lucky to not get any refunds, and I think the whole reason for that, as Karen said, they loved the whatever the thing at the end, the winemaking, whatever the thing she said at the end. They loved that part, and that part was entirely Flo and Raj. So maybe Maura made a good decision moving Flo to that side of the team because saved it. That's what saved them. The people just want to drink wine, and they went over there and they enjoyed it, and Flo smashed it. Maura done nothing in this, so she's won by default, in my opinion. Won by default. Yeah. So let's celebrate the fact that I was right in my prediction. Team Supreme is supremely poor, and they will lose every single week, no matter, as long as Verdi and Phil's there. No matter who comes into that team, they're not going to win. It can't be done. It cannot be done. But yeah, let's move on. So I think essentially Phil, just to talk about the other team. So I think I don't think this time though the loss of Supreme team is because of Verdi and Phil. If I actually properly think about it, Verdi and Phil, yes, they was involved in being poor, but or maybe I'm too used to them being poor now. But I genuinely think that this time it's not fully on Verdi or Phil, but it was on that sub team. The sub team was entirely at fault. I think they was awful, but Felucia, in my opinion, was a very poor leader of that team. Very poor leader of that team, which is not the first time I've seen her that poor this season. To be fair, it didn't help that she had Phil and Verdi on her team, but because Phil and Verdi, they could have called her up, they could have called her out on things earlier. They could have said, let's move locations. They could have thought, I know Verdi did mention it, but there was essentially just being yes men. Like Felucia was like, let's stay here, and they was like, yes, okay. Like I get it, she's the PM, but call her out on it. Like give some reasons why you think we should move. So they could have done better there, but I think Felucia was probably the main reason for this loss on this occasion. So I can't really destroy Verdi or Phil too much, but they're still very poor. They're still very, very, very poor. I think I'm just too used to them being poor now. Also,
He's looking for an entrepreneur, and I feel like
I never think I want to point out before I watch this clip of the actual result. Why did Felucia? So in the end, Rachel brought back Felucia and Verdi, which I think was the two people to bring back. Correct, definitely. But why did Felucia say, I didn't choose to be sub team leader? Like what is the point and the relevance of that comment? I don't get it. Like, I didn't choose to be sub team leader. Like, okay, but you was, so perform. Like what is she talking about? So that for me was a very strange comment. Like she had no opinion, and I think even Alan Sugar was like, and your point being you was team leader, so perform. So yeah, it's very strange. In my opinion, I think she should go. So if we're basing it, so actually the point that Karen made around Verdi's being part of the losing team every single week, and that has to be considered. So if we're considering the whole process, Verdi needs to go for certain. If we're considering if we're considering just this task, Felucia needs to go. Poor. So I don't know, but yeah, man. Felucia made a face when Verdi was talking, and it's in this clip here, and I'll play it and I'll show you.
looking for an entrepreneur, and I feel like I'm the definition of that. The way your character is, I really feel like you look at me and you is a younger version of you, because I've got that craze and that drive to work hard.
Anyway,
Look at her face. She's like, it's like a younger version of you. Crazy to drive hard. Her face was like, it's like, what? Like this guy is waffling. But anyway, listen, he made an interesting point. He made an interesting point, but it's irrelevant. Honestly, after all the little discussions between them, I think Felicia actually gave a really good account of herself in the end. She did sell quite well. Like, she actually changed my mind. I think she should definitely go, but after her little talk, she sold herself well. So she reminded me and everybody else that she did sell quite well in the last few weeks, which made me feel like she does deserve another chance, to be fair. So in my opinion, based off that, Verdi, get out of here. You should go. But let's watch a clip of the results. Let's see what the actual result is.
7 losses.
Verdi, 7
You are
losses.
a charming young man,
Okay.
but I think your time in this process is over, and so it is
It's been coming.
very regretful.
It's about time.
That, I have to say to you that you're fired.
Goodbye.
Karen, Tim, thank you so much.
Take care.
Really appreciate
Get
it.
out of here. Get out of here. Honestly, yeah. Farewell. All the best. See ya. Like, it's about time. It is about time. Sometimes things just run their course. But this guy had a course longer than he should have, that's for certain. But I can tell by the way how Alan Sugar was speaking that he actually liked him. He either liked his business idea or he just liked him as a person, and he didn't really want to do it. He seemed very kind of regretful about doing it. He done it all slow and like, oh, it's regret, like, yeah, keep in touch. And I know that gassed up Verdi as well, like, keep in touch. I know he said it to a few people. He doesn't say it to everybody, but he says it to some people. I know that gassed up Verdi as well. He got his little, 15 minutes of entertainment fame. Sit to DJ, man. Sit to DJ. But yeah, Verdi's finally gone, and I'm very, very pleased. So that might actually help. That actually changes my predictions for next week now. That might help the team next week. So Team Supreme, dare I say, they might get their first win next week. Now Verdi's not there. They may get their first win next week. I still think they have Phil and Felicia, who's not great. More so Phil. Felicia, she's just dependent on the task. She performs, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe if anyone knows what that means. But anyway, yeah, my prediction for next week is, I'm going to be bold. I don't actually fully believe this. Maybe 60% believe this, but I think next week Team Supreme are going to get their first win off the back of Verdi being missing. More is going to hold the other team back. But to be fair, the other team got too much stronger people, so I don't know. Anyway, next week, there's 10 left now. So next week is all about electric vehicle ad campaign, which is right on trend. But yeah, let's see. Actually, go back quickly. Felicia actually was very close to going as well. She was this close to going as well. I can tell Angela wanted to do a Neville's double firing, which would have probably messed up the season and the episodes. But anyway, yeah, next week, let's see what happens. And as usual, if you like that video, review, all of that, like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. See you next week. Peace.